And good evening, folks. Uh, although I'm showing there is an error here, I believe things are working okay. Don't know. Let me see about this here. Bear with me one moment, if you would. There we go. So, using a new system tonight, a new broadcast system. Um, it's just an upgrade from the old one. They're both still free. This one's really cool though. Got it working pretty well. Um, just had a few of the default settings when I went live were not set the way they should. And I will bring us into the intro now that can pretty much verify everything's going well. Welcome to the American Awakening. Maybe if I can actually find the transfer thing. Why doesn't this do this here?
Guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society.
So I don't know, man. I don't get that, man. They go through all this trouble to get here and then come here and vote Democrat.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic process. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper management of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
All right, and wow, amazing. I didn't have to reset the mic this time, even though I still got the same crappy setup. Uh, the new version of the software seemed to have addressed that issue. Any rate, welcome. I have some pretty good stuff tonight, right? We've got the Mueller report out. I actually looked for my name in it, didn't find it, but that was based on an OCR scan that I did of the document, so it was just a quick thing, but it wasn't listed in there. you kind of I kind of wished it would have been. I mean, I contacted Mueller's staff back in 2017, and I I was actually probably November, October, maybe of 2017. Gave him the information that I had that Manafort, the work that I had done for General James Jones with a company named Dynology, and how that, and then I showed him, evidence right from his website, from Manafort's own website, that literally listed Manafort's company as Dynology's number one preferred partner, right? So I showed him there was a connection to the fact that I was literally pioneering social media psychological warfare capabilities, the same things I've been worried about for years were going to be used to influence elections because we built it. Well, we made it commercially available, we through Dynology, and that was one of the reasons, one of the purposes it was discussed for using it for, right? So I was worried, I had my suspicions. Then Manafort pops up as a partner of Dynology's. At that time, I was overseas in Iraq working with the Force Psychological Operations Group, but the database and everything was literally back at the office in Vienna, Virginia, at Tyson's Corner with Dynology. So I, anybody could have had access to it. But so uh, the people that I worked for, Dynology, I talked about last night. And yeah, it was late last night, but had some issues. And lucky could get it going today with the storms that we had. But so I wanted to show you something to sort of support because I had some people that were like, "Hey, wow, that's amazing," but can you support that? So I wanted to pull up this IG report. Um, this is from back in 2015. If you remember from last night's, if you click it once there, last night there it is. So last night I discussed uh, how I basically lost my job for not allowing administrative access to a classified network on a contract I was working in South Korea. I refused to allow administrative access to someone who didn't have authorization, who didn't have the memorandums, didn't have the authorization for it. So you don't give someone access to that, let alone administrative access, right? They could actually you're protecting them from themselves by doing that. There's a reason that you have to have certain courses and stuff before you can be given administrative rights, but let alone this is a major security issue, right? So the guy threatens me. He said if I didn't do it, I'd be out of a job tomorrow. I've been on this contract 5 years, and he yelled at me so loud. The guy next to me heard it. We both filed a complaint, and the next day they modified the contract, removing only the requirement for my position. And then a few days after I was gone, they modified the contract back to its original requirements, and I had been replaced. And keep in mind that was just within 24 hours of me filing an official, me and another person filing an official report of abuse, right? So I want to read this letter. It's small and it's going to be difficult for me to read it. So, but this is from the Inspector General from the Department of Defense. This was my previous address. I don't live there anymore, so it's no big deal, and that is shut down. But this is for the Inspector General, Department of Defense. Can't read that. Alexandria, Virginia. Okay, this dear Mr. Berge, this is in response to the complaint filed with the Department of Defense hotline on September 30th, I believe it says 2015, alleging reprisal under Title 10, U.S. Code Section 2409, 10 U.S.C. 2409, contractor employees, protections from reprisal for disclosure of certain information implemented by Defense Federal Acquisition Regulations Supplement whistleblower protections for contractor employees. You allege management officials reprised against you for making protected disclosures. That was the complaint of abuse. Uh, it said your former employer Dynology, whom I was with for 8 years, is a subcontractor to Agility, the prime contractor under a U.S. Army contract. Employees of subcontractors are not covered under the protection of the version of 10 USC 2409 applicable at the time. Based on the above, we have closed your case, blah, blah, blah. So there's your whistleblower protection, by the way. If you go to the IG's website at that time or even today, it says right up on the front page, whistleblower protection, the front page, it says contractors and subcontractors are now covered by whistleblower protection, right? Hillary Clinton spoke about it in one of her debates with, I think it was one of her debates against Bernie Sanders, where she had mentioned how whistleblower protections have been modified following the Edward Snowden incident to protect whistleblowers, specifically contractors and subcontractors, which is what everybody really understands as being the lack of protections is what happened with Snowden, right? So, um, uh, clearly that wasn't the case because I filed this complaint, never even was investigated. Now, when someone files a complaint of abuse, and then the following day, the people that he filed the complaint abuse about modify the contract, removing only his position, and then right after he leaves, modifies the contract back to its original requirements, effectively replacing him, but not firing him. And that way, when he gets back to the States, they say, oh, we don't have another contract to put you on. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem, right? I go to try to get unemployment insurance. And they say, oh, he doesn't qualify for unemployment insurance because he quit. Well, does it sound like I quit? Hell, I filed an IG complaint about the whole thing, which is right there, right? And the people that did this to me, actually, I would argue even spitefully, vindictively, the people who did this to me because I refused to provide administrative access to a division chief who was quote unquote our client uh, when he didn't have administrative rights to it. Now, when they say our client, I'm upset at our client. To me, even though I'm working for Dynology, I have a clearance, top secret clearance that was given to me by the Department of Defense, and I have to honor that, right? So to me, the client is our government, and my job is to protect our national security, not to protect our company or to protect the client or the contract. That's a bad attitude to have in contracting, which is one of the big reasons I have an issue with contracting, right? Um, to wrap things up, I just wanted to say the Mueller indictments are, I'm going to discuss the IRA, which are tied to the Mueller indictments. That's the Russian internet agency that was listed in the indictments. I'm going to be doing an interview with uh, uh, Ann Vandersteel tomorrow on Steel Truth. I don't know when it'll air. I believe it airs probably like first of the week or something. Don't know for sure though. I'll try to update everybody on that. I do ask you, please check out our website. Visit victimoftheswamp.com. Haven't made that link clickable, but I'll work on that. And then you can just click and go right to it. Please subscribe, like, and share this. This is important stuff. I'll be discussing some more stuff tomorrow. I actually had, this is gonna take a couple minutes, so I'm gonna run just a couple minutes over. But I did have, nope, I'm not gonna. Mm, no, I didn't put that in there, so I didn't finish that up. So I'll do that later. I've got an interview that I wanted to do, that I wanted to show with Donna Brazil, um, explaining her issues, her issues, and her feelings about the Mueller indictment conclusions, and she's just blaming Russia and everything. People, what we need to remember is these people refused to follow the rules, right? They refused to maintain like basic security compliance, things like that, that allowed a foreign country to come in and hack their stuff. On top of that, they were doing things and saying things that were ethically and morally not even subjectively wrong. They were wrong, right? And what they did was, yeah, it's wrong that their stuff got hacked, but they didn't need to say the things that they'd said. They didn't need to do the things that they do. And I believe that Donna Brazil is disingenuous in focusing this on Russia. She should be apologizing for the things that she admittedly and got busted in, dead to rights. She literally lied in that interview with the little cute blonde girl from the Five. Can't think of it. Jay. What? No, he wandered off. Any Dana Perino, thank you. Right, so she even Dana Perino was like, "Hey, um, what about that? What about the the issue with um, uh, this happening again. And Donna Brazil said, well, everything she said was about Russia, 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 or even other countries, maybe China, right? Which I agree. But the number one issue we need to focus on before we worry about all of these other countries doing something to us is there is a domestic threat. The people who did this to me, who I filed this IG complaint against, which is real, you can verify that. The people who did this to me are the people who work with Donna Brazil. This is the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander that did this to me. It's a very small company. There's only a handful of people there. He had the biggest office in the place, right? So when you do something like this, I showed you the email that referenced Jim in it last night. How it was just completely placing company before country, and these are the people that Donna Brazil are protecting, right? The Podestas, Jones and Podesta and Dynology and Manafort, all of these people, they don't care about party politics. They care about profit, in my opinion, based on everything I've seen, based on the 8 years that I spent with them, based on their actions, their own words, right? When Donna Brazil says that the stuff that the Russians released was false, well, that's false. There's never been anybody that's disputed the accuracy of the content other than her. And she's just in complete denial, and I don't believe that she should be allowed to be a voice anywhere, right? Why is why does Fox News have Dana Brazil as a voice of America, where there's a vet? I enlisted at the age of 39, turned 40 at basic training. I lost my job defending our national security. I just had enough of these people, right? You just can't keep ignoring this. What and they fire me, they get rid of me, they replace me with someone who will toe the line, and then you end up with issues like Hillary's emails because they aren't following the rules. They're trying to protect the client. You know, if you would stop the things that ended up getting me terminated, that ended up getting me here, if you would stop giving people like Donna Brazil a voice and give someone like me a voice who's trying to warn our country, who fought and served overseas in Afghanistan in uniform to defend our country, who continued for another 7 years after that, working as a contractor because my job in life was destroyed after I enlisted in the military anyway. Not that that was the fault of the military, but things changed after that, and I did the best that I could to adapt. And I went into contracting, and I discovered this is a pitiful, pitiful swamp. And now you got a president that says, hey, let's drain it. So I'm trying to drain it. I'm showing you evidence right now. Here's a 2015, and unless you think I plotted this all out before Trump got elected, here's a 2015 IG report stating the company I worked for, stating that I filed this complaint, stating that I lost my job because of that, right? Let's stop giving these people platforms. Let's worry about fixing the social media psychological warfare, the influence operations of covert, tactical, military grade influence operations that are being perpetrated by Americans, domestic threat actors. Let's focus on America. Fix the threat here at home by our own people. People like Donna Brazil. She is a threat to our country. I'm not saying that to be violent or anything. I'm saying that as she is part of this swamp. She is part of the military industrial complex that is pushing a narrative to support her political agenda. But I don't kid yourself. Don't think these people are bound politically. They're bound by profit, right? And when things get bad, they will turn on their own people. They will eat their own children. They will do anything that they need to do to survive. This is everything that they've been demonstrated for. For this woman to sit there on national TV and say that what the emails that were released were false. Well, that's just false. She's not admitting, she's not owning up to the horrible things that she got caught for in a very wrong way. I give her that. That wasn't right. It's bad when people get their stuff stolen. I'm a cybersecurity expert. I'm certified in ethical hacking, right? I understand the problems and I understand it sucks, but dealing with it the way she is by continuing the lie doesn't help. I'm gonna let y'all get going. I'm like 6 minutes over. I'll have more good. I'm gonna do some stuff tomorrow. Uh, I might do something right after. I might do something right after my Ann Vandersteel interview. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. My background. I'm gonna be bringing up and educating people a little bit on the Russian Business Network, the RBN, right? And what I believe its involvement is, and things that we need to keep in mind when we're getting fed this stuff by our intelligence agencies in the same way, with the same lack of authentication of evidence as we saw back with the WMDs in Iraq, right? So I'm not saying these people are lying, but I'm saying it doesn't make sense. And if what they are saying is true, hey, what's wrong in them showing us to the best of our ability how they came to these conclusions? Because what they're saying, as a cybersecurity expert, myself, with the DoD for a decade, again, as certified ethical hacker, cybersecurity, everything, even outside that, what they're saying makes no sense. It's not. It's wrong, right? I'm not. It's going to be a mix of lying. Nobody could be that stupid. It's just obvious to any security person, any cybersecurity person that has any background in anonymity and non-attribution. They know it's all just false flags. So, anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Um, Made some changes. Oh, I got a picture I can add. I got a picture of Jay now I can add to it. As soon as we raise some more money, get some more stuff, we'll be able to um, actually include Jay in on this. I think he's gonna. I think you're gonna like some of the conversation he brings to it. We actually, if you could listen to the conversations we have on the porch, hanging out, smoking cigarettes, uh, I think you would be like, wow, we should turn that into the show. And that's sort of what we're doing, right? So Jay helps translate my you know the acronyms and nomenclatures I tend to throw around. Jay helps translate those best he can, and has a great perspective on this. So anyway, y'all have a great evening. Thanks for tuning in, and look forward to uh, seeing you guys shortly. Have a great evening.